But now to shift gears into a really interesting conversation in regards to MMA, I'd now like to welcome in Dan Anderson, the CEO of Victory Fighting League. So Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. And I mean, really, we are seeing MMA grow at a rapid pace, but talk to us to start things off about VFL for those who have not heard of it.
The Victory Fighting League is a premier local New York City organization. We started right here in New York City, and we threw our inaugural event actually in Times Square, which made history.
It's exciting times, Dan, and it took a while, but you think back to the roads that were paved by UFC and Dana White and all of his team over the years. It was sort of a slow burn. But once the acceptance took place and more of these venues opened their doors, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you started seeing it not only on pay-per-view, but, main sports channels on cable, it seems that it's overtaken boxing in some ways, at least here in the U.S. Why do you think that was? Why was it? Because it's true, less rules in the sense of it's just a true combat sport where, the best fighter wins?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I also think that it's raw, unpredictable power. So you're just seeing it. It's so raw. It's so, there's a lot of carnage involved. And because of the unpredictable nature, everyone is so drawn to it.
I mean, absolutely. And so now to speak on a bit more of what we're seeing from TKO, the stock has been performing exceptionally well. So from your perspective, does this signal, investor confidence about MMA as, really its long-term strength?
I particularly necessarily think that it does. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, what they've done is they've paved the way for organizations like mine to really get out there and be a part of the market. The market's supposed to grow to 171 billion by 2028. So this is poised to just skyrocket. So we knew that thesis going into it, and we try to really find our niche and really go into the market by really doing something unique, inspiring, and storytelling. Really trying to bring message and meaning to everything as opposed to selling carnage or selling a particular sport.
Yeah, this is what I think is most fascinating about what you and your team are working on, Dan. And, maybe it'd be difficult to compete with UFC and what Dana White and the fighters there are doing from trying to find the next John Jones, for example. But what you're doing is, trying, like you said, carve out that niche, make a storytelling element to this, kind of truly, I think projected as a sport and not just violence and combat like I think sometimes it's misrepresented. Talk to us about how those two can fit together, because one of the things that I think hurt boxing is the fragmented nature of it. The fights, they build these fighters up, they go 40-0 before they fight anybody. At least that's the perception from the outside. Talk to us how these two can exist in tandem, UFC and, of course, VFL.
So that's great. Clearly, UFC is selling something like carnage. I hate to use the term like that, but it's no holds bar. Everything's going. It's wild, wild west. Martial arts, the ethos of a martial artist is all about respect, honor, and discipline. So I'm a lifelong martial artist. Getting into this, I thought right away, we want to come out with meaning and message, and we want to bring the respect and the transformative power of martial arts into all of the messaging. So right away, I knew that there was a big hole in the game and that I could come in and really start to create a messaging around how martial arts can really transform the average person's life, and also the stories of how all of these fighters got through adversity through martial arts. And that's what I think is going to be really uniquely different. And, there's another league out there called the Professional Fighting League. They sell kind of like a sport, where it's lack of a better term, like the NBA, NFL, it is a sport. And they're going after the highest level athletes. We are too, but we really are trying to carve out our niche in that meaning aspect. We really want deep meaning.
So how are you going about expanding into more of these various mainstream moments? I know that there was a Times Square event, and that's huge, but gaining some of this loyalty from those that perhaps aren't as well versed, aren't as loyal to the MMA ecosystem.
Well, fan experience. Fan experience, that's the whole idea behind the Times Square event, right? The idea was let's do something that's never been done. Let's give the fans a unique experience. Sure, they can go buy a ticket to the UFC and go to Madison Square Garden, but what would it be like if I was sitting in Times Square eating popcorn, drinking a Coke, and watching fighting in the middle of Times Square? So I know that that fan experience and that hospitality really go a long way. And we have some very unique things already planned for 2026. We're thinking about doing something in Miami Beach and some other places that we can't really talk about right now, but we're really trying to hit home the fan experience and the hospitality too.
Dan, one thing it seems that UFC did really well was getting people to watch on television, not just attend the events, which we know are often sold out in various different cities. If I use a different sport to illustrate my question, Live Golf tried to come in and disrupt the golf space, and all accounts are that the fan experience is amazing, if not even better, but they're having trouble getting the eyes on the TV product. What are your plans in that way to get this message, perhaps make it more of a positive story around these combat sports and do so at scale?
So that's a really great question. I think the big thing here is to try to get fighters that have real stories and real meaning. The December 12th card is about Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie is a jiu-jitsu legend, family, had a really hard UFC career. We created this event called the Road to Redemption, built the whole story around him, trying to rise back to the top. He's fighting a #1 ranked New York fighter named Tom Puccioni. Tom Pucci is like a stud. He's like the New York. All of this translates into streaming and us selling the pay-per-view. But simultaneously, we created a story that I think that locals could get behind and used enough star power to where there's enough spotlight around it to where people would definitely take care of us and watch the pay-per-view.
Okay, really great conversation today, Dan. We so appreciate it, as this now makes me actually just want to watch MMA, frankly. So I'm definitely excited for all that you have ahead. So we appreciate your time. And thank you so much for joining us, CEO of Victory Fighting League.